Hey guys, so I'm here in my studio with Teddy by Irina Kaplinskaya in this cute little bed that I recently got. I'm still waiting on the mattress and pillow, so it's kind of rigged up right now, but I just wanted to give you guys something to look at. I thought I would do like a quick little explanation and update with Odin. I've gotten a whole bunch of messages and thank you guys so much. Um, I've been getting a bunch of questions about like what kind of treatment options are available to him and offers for financial help. So I just thought that I would explain like exactly what's going on with him and why there are not treatment options for him. So some of you remember, some of you don't know, but I'll just tell you a little bit about Odin and his story. Odin has been through so much in his lifetime. We got him and we thought he was 8 weeks old from this sweet couple that lived on a farm, and they had like an excuse why we couldn't go to the farm. It was they were facing a lawsuit because their horse had kicked somebody, and it sounded reasonable at the time. We now think it was an Amish puppy mill because the exact story they gave us was actually on Reddit in our area. But we, at the time we were like, well, if it's a scam, they can't really scam us. They're not asking for money up front. We'll show up and they'll have puppies or they won't. But so we went and met them in a Walmart parking lot, and Odin was pretty small. They told us he was 8 weeks old that day, but that there were only 2 puppies left. And both of the puppies were like really lethargic, and they were in an old car. It was right before my birthday in June, so it was really hot here already. And they had the windows down but no AC in the car or anything, and so we thought, oh, the puppies are just hot. But I held both the puppies. Odin's brother, like, he didn't even look up at me when I picked him up. He was in rough shape. And then Odin was really lethargic, but like he wagged his tail a little bit when I picked him up, and he like looked at me and made eye contact and like nuzzled into me, and I was like, oh my god, this is it, we're taking this one. But he, we got home and he wasn't really acting the way I thought that he should. He was like panting really bad and coughing a little bit, and I thought, maybe he's just stressed out because he's in a new environment. He's away from his mom, he's away from his siblings, all that new puppy kind of stuff. But we ended up taking him to the emergency vet in the middle of the night because I was just freaked out. Like, I just felt like his breathing was not right. And I'm glad that we took him. They told us basically we got there and he had really, really severe kennel cough and really severe pneumonia. Like I don't know if they were exaggerating, but they told us that if we hadn't gotten him care like within 24 hours, that he would have definitely died. So that was like his start with us. We also found out he was only 5 weeks old, not 8 weeks old. Like, he didn't even know how to eat solid food at all. He had no clue what to do with it. And so he had to get treatment for a couple weeks, and then he started like showing his personality, and he bounced back from that, which they thought he might have permanent lung damage, but he didn't. So we felt really, really lucky. That was like really scary. But so that was like his start with us. So I've always just felt really protective over him, and he was just like my baby. And then when he was 4 or 5, maybe 5 months old, he started having some problems. I didn't know if he got hurt, but again, like, in my gut, I felt like something was wrong with him. I hadn't seen him get any injury, and he was next to me 24/7, like glue. But he would like cry. He would cry a lot, and then he like cried once when he would stand up. One time he cried, and I made a vet appointment, and my husband was like, you're crazy. But I could just feel like something was wrong with him, and we took him in and they did x-rays, and he had the worst hip dysplasia they had ever seen. And he also had some rear end deformities, where his bones in his hind end, sorry about that, they didn't form right. And he was like missing a socket on one side, a ball on the other side, and what he did have didn't line up. So they told us that if he didn't have surgery, that he wouldn't be able to walk by the time he was 1 year old. And that seemed really excessive, but we ended up getting a second, a third, and a fourth opinion, and all the orthopedic surgeons said the exact same thing. And the last one that we went to was like, you know, he definitely needs it, but there can be problems because he has so much growing to do. So we like decided we were going to wait as long as possible for surgery, and we did like a really intensive homeopathic regimen instead while we were waiting, which, I mean, we had like a GoFundMe for that, for, well, it was for his surgery, but we ended up spending all the money on his like physical therapy meds and supplements and stuff. And he did so good. Like, he's two, like, they thought he couldn't walk by one. He has not had surgery. He still walks fine. He runs, he jumps, which they said he would never probably be able to really run or jump. But like, he jumped for the first time at a little over a year old, and it was like he had just graduated college or something, you know, like we were just like, woohoo. But so he has been doing really, really well. He's like the sweetest dog. Like, I have never seen anything like it. He is just so good natured and so loving. He like looks after kids and small animals, and he's just super gentle. And I've never ever met another dog like him. Like, he is just the sweetest thing. Okay, so that was a really long little backstory, but I just wanted to, so you guys would know that he's been through a lot. And so he's just 2 years old now and has been through all of that kind of stuff already. And I think it's been about 2 to 3 weeks ago now, but my husband felt a really small lump on his neck, and I felt it. It didn't feel abnormal to me. It just felt like a normal lymph node. And you know, one of them was a tiny bit enlarged, which I felt the next day. But I thought, oh, you know, like, we just got over COVID, and he's been around, like, my husband was sick with some other stuff after that, and I thought maybe he was like exposed to a virus and he's just a little bit sick and fighting it off. So I said, you know, we'd watch it for a little bit. But a few days after that, it was like the size of a tennis ball. And so I made him an appointment, and they saw him last Thursday. And it was like, you know, I had made an appointment on Monday. We went in on Thursday. By the time we went in on Thursday, that lump had like quadrupled in size, and he had new lumps starting on the other side. So we were worried, but I did a lot of research on lymphoma, which is what my husband was really worried about. And it pretty much never happens in dogs under 5 years old. Like, our vet specializes in giant breeds. They have St. Bernards themselves. They have never seen it. And like, it's just incredibly rare. Like, doing more research now, it's like 0.05% get it this young. So it pretty much never ever happens. But so they did like a needle aspiration and some other testing, and it came back that he did have lymphoma. And so we were, you know, trying to get to oncology and trying to figure out how we were going to pay for chemo, which is like $30,000 and all this stuff. And then we talked with our vet yesterday. We got the rest of his results back. And basically, I'll tell you guys why chemo is not an option we could do. Like, I know a lot of people have offered to help with money and stuff if we need it, which is super sweet. If it was an option, I would take every single one of you up on it and do whatever I could to buy him more time. But so basically he's at stage 4 already. They did see T cells, and so he has large cell T cell super long word lymphoma. And that is the rarest kind. It is also the most aggressive. It is also the hardest to treat. Um, she did give us the option if we wanted to try chemo, we could, but the chance it doesn't respond well to any of the chemo drugs that are approved for usage right now. He would only have about a 5% chance of going into remission with chemo. And if he did go into remission, his likelihood of having a relapse and it coming back is like, I mean, it's almost 100%. It will happen like 95% of the time. But the likelihood, it would likely come back in 5 to 6 months. They have seen a couple dogs where it hasn't happened for 18 months, but that is really rare and not with his type of lymphoma. So we had that option, but the problems with that are, one, I'm pretty sure it's not going to work. Two, he would have to have some lymph nodes removed before they could start that process. And he is too sick to have surgery. They would not clear him for anesthesia, which it's under general anesthesia. So it's just not we can't do that, and he would have to do that before chemo. Another thing is because it's so aggressive, his tumors in his neck, they've been doubling in size every single day. So he basically has been sounding like you're pulling on a choke chain on his neck. Like really loud breathing, gagging, coughing. He's having trouble swallowing. And then because his lymph nodes are, in my vet's words, so full of cancer, they're not draining normal fluids that would drain. So also his nose is completely stuffed up. So he can't breathe out of his nose. He can't breathe out of his mouth. He's drooling like this crazy, super thick, like phlegm drool 24/7. He can't sleep laying down. He's having to sit up. He's not eating normally. He's acting, like something is wrong with him. Like he doesn't feel well. He's, laying on top of me like 24/7. He just wants to be right near me. And there is a medication, prednisone, which can help with that swelling. It does not do anything for cancer at all. But it will reduce the swelling, so the quality of life he has is better. But the issue is that with that is if we were going to give him that for some relief, we would not be able to remove the lymph nodes, which are needed for chemo, and he could not start that medication before chemo anyways, because even though they're sometimes used together, it cannot be used prior to chemo. It has to be started after chemo, or it makes chemo even less effective. And our vet told us that it would take about 4 weeks for him to even get a first chemo treatment, and she didn't think he would make it through the week without starting prednisone, that he would suffocate basically. So, and that was, those were our only options. Either try chemo, which definitely won't work and we can't do because he can't have the surgery required before it, or start the prednisone, which will help his quality of life but will make chemo a 100% not possible instead of a 2% possible scenario. So we felt like it really wasn't a choice. Like they technically were giving us an option, but it wasn't an option. So we did start him on prednisone yesterday morning. He got his first dose, and it is miraculous. I will tell you, we have not been sleeping. Like he's been waking me up in the middle of the night in a panic, coughing. Like when he coughs or sneezes, he gets really scared. Like he's a real scared natured dog. Like he he's little mama's boy, you know. And but he was panicked in the middle of the night and being unable to breathe and coughing and stuff. And last night was the first night that he slept through the night. His breathing is still a tiny bit loud, but his lymph nodes have shrunk, and he's breathing 100% better today. He can actually breathe. He ate all of his breakfast for the first time in days, and he's playing with May, our other dog. He's just acting like his normal self. And in a way, this is harder for me because he's acting like he's not sick right now, which is awesome because I want him to feel as good as he can possibly feel. But it's just masking the symptoms. His cancer is still progressing just as fast and, you know, just as aggressively as it would without the prednisone, but the prednisone is giving him quality of life, which is what we really care about. You know, they did give us a time frame for him. Like 3 weeks to 3 months is standard with prednisone. They don't know like how long. Sorry. They don't know how long that will be. Like when he starts going downhill, he'll start going downhill pretty quickly. We've already talked to them about his end of life stuff. We are going to put him down when the time comes. I don't want him to suffer like any more than, you know, I don't want him to suffer any more than he absolutely has to. My biggest hope for him would be that he starts to get sick again and that he goes in his sleep, but that's not very likely. So because of all of the stuff he's been through, he is like really, really terrified of the vet's office. It is the absolute worst experience taking him there, and it's the worst place he could be. We are not letting him die in the vet's office no matter what. So they will come to our home when the time comes and put him to sleep peacefully at home with us, surrounded by everyone and everything that he loves. And we own our house. He has like this favorite tree in the backyard. It's like a nice big tree, and like every single time he runs outside, he like runs out and jumps up and puts his legs up on the tree and like looks up. Like I think he saw a squirrel one time or something probably. But we're gonna bury him out there under his favorite tree. And I'm trying to think if there's like anything else that you guys would want to know. Like I will probably be doing some updates on my personal page. It's really, really hard for me to talk about, but I know like I've been sharing stuff about him since he was a baby, and I know a lot of people really love him. Like I talk about him on my YouTube channel a lot when I'm painting. He'll be in the background like making noise or whatever, and I get a lot of private messages and comments from people like, you know, excited that they heard him and stuff. So it was something that I wanted to share, and helps for me to share for sure. But it's also a reborn page, so I don't want to suddenly have it be like St. Bernard Cancer page. There was one thing about chemo that I didn't know, but like even if everything had gone 100%, like where he could make it to a chemo appointment, he could have gotten his surgery, he would have had time to get treatments before dying, all of that, and it would have responded, all that kind of stuff. I didn't know this at all. Like I assumed that most chemo nowadays was oral, but our vet was telling us that like one of the requirements for them to get chemo, where like he would have needed infusions, is they have to be able to lay still for 1 to 3 hours. And I think that is just the craziest thing. Like he freaks out at any type of medical appointment, like mostly from his hips. He's been followed really closely and had tons of x-rays and all this trauma surrounding it. But I was like, there's no way that he would have laid there for 5 minutes, let alone hours. And I don't know. I thought that was interesting. I was like, there's no way only good dogs can get chemo, like they have to come up with something else. But yeah, right now, since starting the prednisone, he is feeling a lot better, which is great for us too. When he was struggling to breathe, it was really, really rough for me. I was having like anxiety attacks. I couldn't sleep. Just seeing something that you love that much in that much distress, like we already feel totally helpless because we would do anything to save him, and there's nothing that we can do. And then seeing him in that kind of distress and like having him come to us for help, and there's nothing we can do to alleviate that. It was like, it's just been the most traumatic week I've ever experienced. So I'm really, really grateful for the prednisone. I hope that it continues to work the way that it's working. As far as like the future, they think that he will have what did she call it? A quick gradual decline, like that he's not just gonna drop dead at any second, that they don't know how long he'll last, but that we will have a few days where we definitely know that we'll know that he's ready. We'll know that he's at the end. So I just want to do everything that I can with him while we have the time. There's like there's this farm that we used to take May to before we got Odin, and he's never been there, and it's really a cool place. They have like sunflower fields and all this stuff, and it's almost winter here. Like it snowed a little bit yesterday, but I really want to take him there this weekend and just let him experience some new places and new things with the time that he has left. I like got a whole bunch of filet mignon, and he's been eating that for dinner. And my husband's been feeding him Skittles, which were like a huge no-no before, but now it's like our vet was like, whatever he wants, just give him what he wants. It's not, we don't have to worry about it. I'm not giving him chocolate still, but anything that's not going to be toxic to him, he can have. He is going to have a period in the near future where he can't eat anything harder. Like I feed him homemade food, but like he loves celery and cucumber, and he won't be able to have those because the tumors are affecting his jaw, so it's painful and difficult for him to chew. And that is better right now on the prednisone, but it's going to get worse. So there will come a time when we'll need to start blending his food up and making him more like soup type food. But he doesn't have any limitations right this second. He can play as much as he wants. He can do anything he feels like doing, and that's definitely what he's doing. I think that's it. This is like way longer than I intended, but I really wanted to explain that because it's a lot to type out, and people were asking me, well, can't you do this? Why can't you do that? So I thought it would be good to like explain the whole situation. I'm not in a great headspace, so I'm kind of all over the place. So I'm hoping I did explain that where you guys understand. And like I said, I'll definitely post stuff. If you guys want me to post an update once a week or something on here, I will. But I don't want to turn people off that are like, thinking they came here to see reborns and now they're seeing dog stuff. So I'll have to think about that. But I will update on my personal page or private message, whatever, or make a YouTube video once a week for update or something. But thank you guys so much. Like I was overwhelmed by the amount of private messages I got after posting that, and I'm just really grateful. It really, really means a lot to me, and I just really appreciate it. And I'll show you guys Odin real quick. He's right here. I made him a little bed in my studio, which he's not really utilizing. I made him a little bed like right here, but of course only his head's on it. But this is what it's been like. He's been like next to me 24/7, like, you know, no matter where I go, he's right there, which is awesome. I'm really cherishing the time. But all right, guys, I will talk to you soon, and thank you again.